Politics editor-in-chief and D.C. correspondent for The Blaze, Chris Bedford, also along with Democratic strategist Jonathan Harris. He joins me now as well. Clearly, politics aside right now, let's talk about what we're seeing play out here in West Bloomfield, Michigan. There may potentially be a political connection here, but that's too early in this investigation at this point to confirm that. Law enforcement at this time trying to find potentially whether or not there was a second assailant that was involved in this. Let's start with you, Jonathan. I mean, clearly this is a scary situation. Luckily, no injuries, according to law enforcement. What's going through your mind at this hour?
Just another tragedy, and hoping that this doesn't have anything to do with the situation in Iran. We know that they said that they might be engaging in attacks as a response to what happened there. So just hoping that this doesn't have anything to do with that. But whether or not it does, it's just another tragedy, and hoping that there are as few casualties as possible.
Chris, I mean, we've seen this play out time and time again at synagogues. Clearly, this synagogue knew the risks, knew that there was potential threats, had a security guard at the scene. That security guard engaged with the suspect that was ramming into the synagogue. Chris, I mean, this is something that appears to be going to be a threat at synagogues, and this one took precaution.
Yeah, it is, and thank God they are prepared. And thank God, so far reports show that there don't appear to have been any innocents who were killed. My heart sank when I first heard that there was an early preschool right there. You're wondering why they're attacking a synagogue on a weekday, not a day of worship, not the Sabbath day, and your mind goes to that. Keep in mind, this is also just under around half an hour away from where a Catholic school church, or a church filled with school kids, was nearly shot up just last summer, where, thank God, the deacon rammed the perpetrator with his vehicle and was able to put an end to that with the help of security. After the attacks that we've seen at our Catholic school, there are police officers there often. There's armed security there often. Just in Virginia, of course, temples, which have been targeted, as you point out, and synagogues and Hebrew schools have been targeted. At this point, it's, I mean, I'm old enough to remember Columbine, of course. I remember listening to it on the radio and seeing the horror, and the nation was aghast. Now it's fairly frequent, and more religious schools and religious places of worship, Christian and Jewish, are being attacked and are being targeted. And security is just a way of life. Yeah, you've been pointing out where if you look at some of the helicopter shots of the school and the synagogue, there are barriers that have been erected to stop vehicles from being able to get close enough. You can't drive down the paths. There's steel barriers like you see around Washington, D.C. and Manhattan, because that's a fact of life. And having to be prepared for that is a tragedy. And I'm hoping that this is over. It seems like it may be a terrible tragedy averted.
Yeah. Jonathan, how important do you think it is for the community to come together at this time? You clearly have people there concerned for their community, for their synagogue. How important is it that Americans come together in times like this?
It's very important. It's actually interesting that he was talking about Columbine, because that was a little closer to me. That was when I was, without dating myself, that was when I was in high school, and it just seems like, it's been such a change. It almost shook the nation to its core. And now things like this, sadly, it seems like, they come on the news, they're on for maybe a few hours, maybe a day or so, and then we've moved on. And it is a tragedy. And as you talk about, the importance of the community come together is almost bolstered by the support from the media and bolstered by the support from the attention that it gets from the media. And it seems like it does go away so quickly because in a sad way, it's almost like we become numb to it. We become immune to it. And so I hope that we do have a lot more attention that focuses on this, and that the community does come together and support any of the victims that there are. And like my co-panelist was saying, hopefully keeping those victims to a minimum.
Yeah, and one of these things, you look at this, and clearly communities are rattled by something like this, and everybody wants to run to see whether or not everyone's safe, but at times like this, when the police are trying to make sure that the area is situated and that there are that it's safe, and that there aren't any other accomplices that are part of this. I imagine they're going to start that'll be part of this investigation. Is one, who was this suspect that engaged with this security guard that was behind the wheel, that attempted to ram this synagogue and did in fact ram the synagogue. What the motive was. There's a lot of unanswered questions at this point. This very early on in this investigation, but you go back to the fact that these attacks continue to happen. While you two were sharing your opinion on this, I looked this up. There's several synagogue-related incidents. We had that one here in New York City just recently here. Luckily, there were no injuries there. It really does paint this picture that these are threats. These are areas that we're going to have to, they're no longer soft targets. These are targets that will need to be protected. And that's just a way of life here in America, given the times that we're in. Chris, going back to you, where do you think that, do you now think that this makes for more time for, if there aren't synagogues out there protecting the doors, do you think that this now paints that picture?
Yeah, this is not an Orthodox synagogue. This is not the kind of synagogue where you're typically going to see a lot of nationalism or conservative politics. It's a Reformed Jewish synagogue. This is an example, depending on the reason for the attack, if it's motivated by religion, which seems likely, if it's motivated by politics, which is a possibility, then no one's safe. It doesn't really matter what views you espouse and those kind of animuses. It's who you are, what your blood is, what the God you worship.
I apologize, Chris. I'm going to have to interrupt you. We're going to listen in here live to the sheriff with an update here on what's happening in Michigan. All right, there we just got a quick update from the Oakland Sheriff Mike Bouchard as to what happened play out at this West Bloomfield synagogue here this afternoon. We did get some new information as to some of the details. We do know that the suspect that was behind the wheel of a truck rammed through the synagogue's front doors, drove down the hallway before engaging in gunfire with security guards that were on scene. The suspect is dead. It's unclear whether or not that suspect took his own life or whether or not those security guards, in fact, shot and killed the man behind the wheel. Still no name as to who the suspect is. The good news is everyone's accounted for. No victims were injured. The lead security there was hit by the vehicle. He's been taken to the hospital with minor injuries there. But certainly a scary situation. And as the law enforcement just indicated there, Chris, is that they were on heightened alert prior to this, given the attacks on synagogues play out. And we also know what's going on with Iran. So they were prepared, and in this case, this turned out to be a scary situation, but luckily nobody was injured.
Thank God no one is injured. And of course, they've got to be on alert. They're a suburb of Michigan, of Detroit, Michigan. Dearborn, Michigan has a lot of radicalism, Islamic radicalism, the kind of thing which has been called upon to launch domestic attacks during the Iran war. There's no indication yet that that has anything to do with it, that had nothing to do with the church shooting, which was about equidistant from Dearborn. That was homegrown, as many of our school shootings have been. But police have to be under heightened alert for that sort of thing, because calls have gone out from a foreign state actor and its allies to sleeper cells around the country. And for the last 25 years or so, that's just been a reality that Americans have to deal with.
Absolutely. Jonathan is also with me here. Jonathan, one thing that we do know is that President Trump has been notified of what's happening here in Michigan. No comment yet from President Trump, but that was the White House that had reached out. We made contact with them on behalf of Newsmax, and that's the word that we've got. But I mean, you look at what happened here. According to law enforcement, you had a suspect behind the wheel of a truck, drives through it, and he described with purpose, down the hallway of this synagogue. Security guards there on hand with guns that were able to engage and prevent any death, any further injuries.
Just terrific work on the part of law enforcement. absolutely fantastic work on their part. Like I was saying earlier, I mean, we don't know. We know that Iran had talked about being retaliatory, and so we don't know if this has anything to do with it. Hopefully, it does not. But a terrific work on the part of law enforcement, not to make this political at all. But I am hoping that if Donald Trump has been notified, that his response will be one of maturity and propriety and nothing petty or childish that perpetuates anything that is negative with Iran or with this situation. Just hoping that he is very presidential in this moment, and just proud that there, sadly, with the person being killed, we really won't know too much behind what was going on and what their motivations were. But it's sad. It's terrifying. You think you're safe. All of these places, the amount of shootings the shootings and these kinds of things that occur in this country are just absolutely heartbreaking. You can't, you think you're safe in a movie theater, you think you're safe in a school, you think you're safe in a place of worship, and it just turns out that time and time again, these are not places where you're safe, and we have to do some analysis as a country on why that is and why this occurs here in numbers and in ways that this does not occur in other places around the world. But again, terrific work on the part of law enforcement.
Yeah. A few other points. Police wouldn't confirm whether or not the suspect, in fact, had a weapon or it did engage in gunfire with the security officers. Also, what ignited the vehicle, they're still looking at that as well. They say that was the reason for the smoke. They're looking at a possible IED that might have been in the vehicle as well. So we'll continue to wait for those answers to those questions. Chris Bedford, Jonathan Harris, thank you both for stopping by. We appreciate it. We'll be right back right after this.